right. Well, we good? I don't want to rush you.
No. It's my fault.
No. You're
being on time is you're still late.
all right. Yeah, I thought great win. On an awesome day for Old Dominion. Starting with Sports Center being here and showcasing the campus and the university, and then obviously going and playing very well was a great Thursday night. Able to give the guys off a couple days and then get back to it last night, and so looking forward to going and playing a very, very talented and aggressive Georgia Southern team that's playing really good football right now. So, questions?
Can you say that's probably one of the best efforts you've seen in all three phases from your team?
I think we've had a couple other ones that were pretty good, but it certainly was up there. You generate 2 turnovers and then you don't have any yourself. That's going to be, that's great. We had 351 yards rushing. We only gave up 26. We got 9 sacks, only gave up 1. Won the third down battle. Had an explosive punt return. So I think, there was a lot of very good things that were in that game. I don't know if it was, it'd be hard to maybe compare it and one of those sort of things, but we certainly played a complete game for sure.
They, last year, this was one of your best games against Georgia Southern.
Mm-hmm.
Does that help given their key pieces they have back, or is it kind of a just different year, different team?
No, different year, different team. If anything, and probably the guys that are back are probably pretty inspired to play good football, certainly in front of their home fans and in front of senior day and all those sort of things. So I don't think it helps us. We're both coming into it, haven't played good football in our last game. So it's going to be 2 teams that are coming in with a lot of confidence, but I also think it's going to be 2 teams that understand that how we practice this week is going to, how we practiced last week probably indicated how we played, and 2 teams that know that they got to practice well this week.
How would you describe how your defense has played the last couple of weeks? Just 6 points allowed in 2 games. Like, what is clicking for them in that unit, throughout the game?
Well, I think we're able to run quite a variety of defenses right now, and that's really helped us. But I think the guys are just playing fast. They're playing confident, and they're playing confident in their assignments on each individual call, which allows them to play fast and allows Coach Seiler and the rest of the defensive staff to feel confident in being able to call a bunch of different things and that sort of thing. So I think that it's been a number of different things. It's funny, I don't think we tackled our best over the last 2 games, but we're really running the football well and playing very hard, and we're playing sound team defense where guys are understanding their leverage and things of that point that are helping us out.
You guys really has done a nice job of cutting back on the turnovers yourselves the last few games, 3 games, I guess. Mm-hmm. What's led to that? Is it just a matter of repetition in practice?
Yeah, I think it's just guys continue to get better, continue to focus on it. That was one thing I did like in the last game. I thought our ball security just, sometimes you don't have great ball security and you still don't turn it over. I thought our ball security was much better in the last game overall. I thought there was a lot of moments where there was even some teach tape types of things and guys doing great things there. And so we've certainly been focusing on it. And I know the guys all understand how important it is. I know the quarterbacks were very quick to point out to Coach Decker that we did not have a turnover in that game. So that was one thing that they were really excited to make sure that we maintained. So that was good.
I was watching Sunday Night Football last night. They kept talking about when Jalen Hurts is a threat to run, how much it makes the other team play 11 on 11 football. Mm-hmm. And I thought about you guys, like when Colton has that threat to run, how much does it stress the defense because he is another guy that can carry it, or you can design it up for him?
Yeah, it makes the defense kind of pick their poison, right? We have receivers that can hurt you on the outside. We have running backs that can hurt you when they get a chance. Obviously, it was Devin in the last game, but it's been different people. And then Colton's, legs, it just makes you can't have just crazy defenses and you can't just call unsound blitzes, because if you get hurt, I mean, you can get hurt real quick on those sort of things. So I think that's one of the things is I've said this before, it makes people play defense, not defenses. And everybody's got to be sound. Their quarterback does the same thing. He's a good athlete, and he's been able to scramble for quite a few yards, and then they'll quarterback run way more than I think people think they will. And it does add another dimension, and it helps free up. They've got some talented receivers as well. It helps free those guys up, and then they have a talented running back that allows them to get free. So in that regard, I think there's some similarities there.
If you look at the entirety of your results, you've had some obviously really strong efforts, including this week. You had two that you like throw out. What's the difference between those two games and the rest of the games, and what's changed since then?
I mean, the reality of it is, if I knew exactly what it was, I wouldn't have allowed it to happen in the first place. And if you look at the JMU game, we played all right in the first half. We just didn't play our best football in the second half. I don't necessarily think there's one thing that caused it. I think it was a number of different things. We didn't play quite as physical. We certainly didn't play with the same technique and fundamentals. But I think one of the things that we really didn't do was we didn't play with the same amount of conviction, and there was a lot of second guessing ourselves as we were going to make plays and things like that. Whereas you look at the rest of the results, and guys, they saw a key, they recognized it, they reacted to it, and they went, without question and without hesitation. And I think that was probably the main difference.
Was there a turning point after those two games? In other words, was there a point where you thought, I might lose them here? And to their credit, what did they do to stay the course?
I never felt like we were going to lose them. I felt like they were upset for not playing their best football. I mean, and I felt like we were all upset for not coaching our best and not playing our best and those sort of things. But I never felt like there was ever a moment where we might lose them. The guys responded well. I felt like we practiced, well throughout there, and coming back into that App State game, and we it's a little bit of a closer game. We jumped out on them early, and then they kind of made a couple plays there to come back. But I thought the guys never hesitated and were able to pull that one off. And then we've played fairly good football in the last 2 weeks, even complimentary football and those sort of things. So no, I never felt though. I never even kind of crossed my mind, to be very honest with you.
How impressive was that win over Coastal on Saturday, like from what you've seen?
Yeah, I mean, obviously Coastal's been playing some really good football, and so for Georgia Southern to do what they did was an impressive deal. They played really well offensively across the board. They were able to run it very successfully, but they were still able to throw it. I mean, they sprinkled in some, whether you want to call them trick plays or exotics or whatever you want to call it, gadget plays, whatever term you want to use. They sprinkled in a few of those, and they were able to hit them. And that was the thing. I mean, they basically hit everything they wanted to hit in that game. And so I think that for them, the impressive part was being able to respond every time Coastal responded back to them. And I think that was one of the key things. What's crazy is at the end of that game, the fourth quarter, as much of a shootout as that fourth quarter wasn't a shootout. It was a slugfest, and they were able to hold on and make the plays they needed to do to win the game.
We talked about some of the gambling issues throughout the year. When you see major league players taking a dive on a pitch in exchange for money, or NBA players taking a dive injury-wise, is that chilling for a coach to think that it can exist on that level? And if so, what do you tell your players? Do you approach them about it?
I mean, the only thing I try to tell my players is, the game is fleeting, right? I mean, and if you truly love it, I mean, You're not going to give away a play. You're not going to give away a pitch. You're not going to give away an opportunity to go out there and play it, because it's not going to be there forever. And I think that, that's the thing that I keep trying to harp on the guys. Obviously, character is one of our core values, and I, I know we as coaches aren't perfect. I know our players aren't perfect, but I do think that we have a bunch of kids with great character and who love to play the game of football, and they're going to play and do it the right way. And I continue to see that week in and week out. So that's what I'm choosing to believe in.
As an outsider, the hallmark of this defense or the biggest difference this year for this defense seems to be the pressure they've been able to generate. Mm-hmm. And last Thursday, I think we had the second highest rated pressure rate in the country without blitzing. What would you kind of credit this year to that increased pressure rate?
Well, I think we're doing a nice job in coverage. I think that's part of it. And you're going to have to take away the first read in order to generate any sort of pressure, even if you're blitzing. So I think we've done a nice job with that. I also think that our blitzes, we've done a nice job of mixing it up. Our 3-man pressure, our 4-man pressure, 5, 6, even 7, to where there are times when it gets difficult for the defense to know, and it's gotten us more one-on-one matchups. What I've been happy with is we've won our one-on-ones. We've won more one-on-ones this year than we have in the past, and that's the thing you've got to do. If you're a defensive lineman, you get a one-on-one matchup. It's your obligation to the team, right? To not only to the other guys on defense, but to the offensive players, to the guys on special teams, everybody, to win that one-on-one matchup. You have to win it. And yes, I understand as a coach, I'm speaking out both sides of my mouth, because if I'm coaching the offensive tackle, it's his job to win that matchup too. And so, but it's your obligation to win it. And so we've got a bunch of one-on-ones, and we tend to be winning more of them at this point.
Anything else, Coach?
I was just going to say the environment down there, Georgia Southern. You've been there a few times, but what do you think of the environment?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I know this time of year they kind of sometimes have a fall break and all that sort of stuff, but I mean, I know our environment's going to be great because they've got great football fans. We've got some guys who are from near there who are going to bring some people who are going to be excited for us to be down there. But I'm pretty positive that they'll have a great fan base like they always do, that they've had for decades on decades on decades, and we know that, and we're ready for it. It's one of the things that makes Sunbelt football so great.
Are they playing for bowl eligibility? Is that right?
They're 5-5.
Yeah, they're 5-5.
Five.
They got 2 games to get one.
They're 5-5, so I'm
Do
sure.
you warn your players against that? That might be a little bit more amped up.
I know our players just want to win. If they were playing, I don't think our players want to win. Their players want to win. I don't think there's anything more necessary on that. I mean, every time you go out there, you want to win the game. So whether it happens now or whether it happens in the 3rd week of the season, I think the guys are going to come out there with the same type of juice on both sides.
All right, thank you guys. Thanks, Coach. Appreciate it.
Quarterback Colton Joseph. Mark, we'll start us off for
How you doing?
Colton, sure. Hey, Colton, how you doing?
Great, man. How you doing?
Good. That's not my question. So I asked Coach the same thing. Last year, you guys put together one of your most complete games against this team. They have a lot of players returning. Is there anything you can take from that performance last year and apply it to this year when you go down there this weekend?
It's just a good starting point to look at the film to see what we did last year. And but it's all about, it's a new team on both ends. So it's not too much about what happened last year. It's about, the scheme what we put on tape and all that kind of stuff. And all the preparation we got to do this week to go 1-0 and to come out and play our best game.
Over the course of the last 3 games, you guys have really cut back on your turnovers. What do you think has led to that? And that's obviously something that's good for you guys, and it was a key point of emphasis for you.
Yeah, I think we just got better at, just either holding on to the ball or just me making smarter decisions, not throwing interceptions. But I think it's just the players growing and realizing how important the ball is to, keep on our side when we have it. And we just been, it's been a key emphasis for us in practice, so we just applied it to the games.
Do you think you guys are playing as good a football right now as you can probably remember? Do you think you're playing any better?
Are you saying like this season?
Yeah, this season.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we've gone up and down, but I feel like we're definitely playing well. You can always play better. There's always things you can fix. But I really like how well everyone's playing. We're playing fast, playing smart. Um, just going out there and just playing ball, really.
How much does your ability to run it, either designed or unprompted, threaten the defense? Like they have to account for you. Can you sense that, or do you always keep that in the back of your mind? Like, how much does it open up your offense? Is what I'm asking.
Yeah, I'd say it really just helps us, stay on track. If I have an opportunity to make a bad play better, whether it's finding escape lanes or scrambling to get it to the guys down the field. It always helps to have that extra layer of protection in case something does go wrong in a play. And I think, that just helps me and the offense stay on track if I can always, escape the sack and, get even just a yard or get back to the line of scrimmage. That always helps, the offense just keep moving forward.
Do you notice that too? Because I notice when you take off and run, it's like the Red Sea parts. And all of a sudden, you look at it and go, I got him now.
I mean, yeah, it's kind of just a feel thing. I got my eyes downfield, so if I can't find anything downfield and I do feel the Red Sea part, I'll definitely take it every time for sure.
In your opinion, what's the biggest difference between the two games you guys lost and would like to just throw off the schedule and what's happened lately?
I'd say we just weren't playing our best football. We were just, weren't playing as confident or as, detailed as we would like in those two games. But recently, we've definitely picked it up and realized just going 1-0 every week, not, forgetting about what happened, in those two games and bouncing back and be able to, just play football, freely without having to, think about what's going on. And just getting to the point and all the preparation and practice we had, helped us just keep moving forward.
They're last in the Sun Belt in rushing yards allowed. You guys kind of lick your chops when you see that, like, you're going to get some openings, you're going to get to try to capitalize on them.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, for sure. But at the same time, we're just going to play our own game of football and, do what it takes to win the game and prepare how we need to.
Can you talk about your mentality just going on the road for another road game?
Yeah, just like any other game, just want to go out there and bring the energy, play one, and go into their stadium. Probably going to be a pretty good environment, and just get the boys riled up to go out there and just put our best ball on tape.
Has this team's defense been underrated? Your team?
Yeah, I mean, they've been balling out. It's hard to, have like a rating for them because every week they come out and lay the boom down and they're just doing things that you want to see your defense do, getting turnovers, making plays, getting stops. So really appreciate what they do, and it's always good to have a defense like that backing you up.
How happy were you for them to have gotten a shutout at last?
Yeah, I know. It was good for them. It was really good for our team, and I know they're all super excited about it, and it's awesome to have a defense playing like that.
What got you more excited, the shutout or 9 sacks?
I don't know. I'd probably say I think the shutout was good too. I mean, 9 sacks is still incredible, but yeah, shutout's nice. Yeah, exactly.
Anything else? All right. Thanks, Cole.
Thanks, man.
Mark, start us off with Seth. Hey, Seth. That's not a bad way to go into practice and propel you into the week, right? I mean, you guys, I know, approach every week the same and want to know, but I mean, pump your chest out a little bit after a showing like that?
Yeah, definitely enjoy the win and Thursday and it happened and really get to enjoy it. One thing Coach Shawley's been emphasizing is handle success well. And last time, we had a great start to the season. We had those 2 games where we didn't do as good as we wanted to. And so the focus right now is just handling success well. And yeah, that was a great win and we enjoyed it. We had an extra couple days to enjoy it too, but it's this week now and want to know is our mentality.
going on the road now, your last road trip of the regular season, what's kind of the mindset of you guys as you head down there and try to make it 4 in a row?
Say the same thing, just 1-0 mentality. As a senior, this is my last year, just taking it all in. You just say this is my last regular season away game and just enjoying it all as I go. But yeah, it's a new week, 1-0, and so we're just going to focus on what we've been doing every single week.
How was the defense able to successfully get so much pressure and generate 9 sacks?
I think it all starts with practice, which goes back into our 1-0 mentality and just the way we practice. We practice well on a Tuesday. It just sets us up well for the mentality we need to have for Wednesday. And then, those are our 2 big practice days. And then the rest is just, staying sharp mentally throughout the week. So every single day of the week leads to what the product you see on Saturdays or last week, Thursday.
How amazed were you that you guys got 9 sacks?
I didn't even know we had 9 sacks. I was just, enjoying, during the game, I was just having fun, just playing football, executing the way we needed to execute. And then, when that's the focus, things like that just happen to happen. You don't plan that. Obviously, you could plan to have 9 sacks every game, we would do that. But, when you focus on just having fun playing football and just sticking to the standards that's set by our coaches and executing well, that's what happens.
When you see a team gain 648 total yards last week, you guys kind of hey, bring it on, you embrace that challenge?
Yeah. Whoever it is at any part of our season, especially the first week of the season, Indiana, and we know that coaching staff well, and whoever it is, bring it on, we're ready.
What do you think has changed? The biggest thing that's changed for this team since the 2 losses?
I think just continuing to believe in that those 2 performances don't define who we were as a team. Not even the beginning of the season, how well we started, don't define us as a team, and just believing the work that we put in this week is gonna define how we play that coming Saturday.
Coach Rahne was complimentary of how you guys run the ball. In the history, every defensive coach says run the ball, but not every defense does it. How do you guys why? How is that? How do you guys go about why is that working for you?
I mentioned earlier, a standard, and the first thing on that standard is perfect effort. And just during the week in practice, we emphasize that just straining to the ball, running to the ball, every single play. And when that's something that's emphasized, then that's the product you get.
Do defensive players walk with their heads a little bit higher after a shutout? Is that a point of pride for you guys?
Yeah, like I said earlier in the interview, enjoy that and really, appreciate it. That's not easy to do. But then, once Sunday comes back around, and locked in, ready to go the next week.
I asked Colton this. What seemed more impressive to you, finding out that you got school record 9 sacks or getting a shutout?
I guess the shutout, just because it's complements overall team defense. Super excited that I was able to be a part of that school record with 9 sacks. But yeah, just enjoying the team success.
Anything else?
Hey, Seth. So obviously you were here last year on a season that wasn't quite as successful as this year. Does the energy around campus feel any different when you're walking around?
All of my classes are online, so most of my time I'm either at the facility or at my house. I guess the couple times I go out to Webb or to Broad to get something to eat. I guess I'm not really paying attention to that though, to be honest.
Super excited.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
You've done so well. Trey, it hasn't taken you long, or it didn't take you long to really look like you're feeling comfortable here. How easy has it been for you to make the adjustment and just feel like you fit right in with this offense?
I would say it's been pretty easy. The people that I'm around, I like being around them, so they make it pretty easy.
You've been part of several explosive plays this year. When it's kind of one-on-one coverage, and Colton puts that ball up there. What's the thought process for you in that split second when you go up and try to get it?
My thought process is whenever the ball's in there, I just got to grab it. That's what I.
Trey, the obvious question is going home this weekend, man, and you're gonna have some people there. So explain that mindset. How excited are you?
It's just another game for me. Nothing changes. Just another game, 1-0 mentality. That's about it.
Cell phone pinging over just a little bit more.
Yeah.
yourself on going off a little bit more?
Yeah, just a little bit.
How many people you know?
I think what 55, 60 around there.
Wow.
Yeah, so I have a whole little section just for me.
For those of us
just another game though. Come on.
It
like-
is. That's how I look at it.
Yeah.
I'm a humble person. Like it's just another game. Yeah, I might have a decent amount of fans in the stands that's there for me and supporting me, but I have to keep my head down and do what I'm supposed to do.
For those of us unfamiliar with Georgia geography, how far where you grew up?
45 minutes.
How do you get 55 or 60 tickets?
I don't know. Just keep on asking all my players.
Just ask teammates?
Yeah, and they just send them through.
What's changed about this team since that 2-game losing streak?
What's changed? Our attention to detail and how we prepare. That's about it.
Was there any concern during or after that 2-game streak where you guys lost a couple badly? I mean, did the 1-0 thing hold up the way it's supposed to?
I think the 1-0 thing held up like it was supposed to, and it made us realize that we still got a lot of games, and we had to fight and do what we were supposed to do on the field.
So you didn't see any panic, any concern like
No,
that?
sir.
Troy's defense at times got a little chippy and talked a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Does that type of defensive mentality challenge you, like get you more amped up
Yeah, it gets me going. It gets me going when you're talking to me because, like, I'm really not a talker, but once you get me talking, a different side comes out. So, yeah.
Anything else for Trey?
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Trey.
Thanks, Trey.